So tell us who you are, Colleen Makhubela, new kid on the block.
Well, new kid in terms of the political party, yes, it's 4 months old, going on to 5 months now, and grateful that we could make it to the ballot paper with all those stringent requirements. But Colleen is not new in politics. Some may know me. I was the Speaker of the City of Johannesburg, and previously with Congress of the People. That, of course, famously fired me, but that's some of the things that propel us onto our path. But Colleen is a mother, and a mother of 2. I'm a wife, and I'm a sibling, third born of my mom, who was a nurse, and my father was a teacher out of Limpopo, Guyana. That's where I grew up, and I studied there. And after my matriculation and in Polokwane, Capricorn High School, I went to University of Pretoria for a year. I actually wanted to study computer science, Michelle, and when I got there, this was 1996 or 97. And at that time, they were still conducting their classes in Afrikaans.
Oh my goodness.
And I had not seen a computer then, or interacted with it to the level that you're supposed to understand computer science, programming, etc. So it was very, very difficult for me. After a month, I changed course. I went to study BCom informatics. And after my first year, I actually got a scholarship with Telkom to go and study in Malaysia. That's where my dream to study computer science then actually materialized.
Wow.
So I was in Malaysia for about 4.5 years. And I did what they call B engineering, information engineering science, something like that. But it's an equivalent of computer science here at the Multimedia University in Malaysia. And post that, I came back and I worked for Telkom. I was bought over by South African breweries. I've been a SEP consultant for a couple of years, started my own business in 2006. So since then, I've been an entrepreneur. And did my MBA and with Millpark and a whole lot of other courses that I've done. And I'm still busy trying to finish my PhD, which I don't know if I will, in management of innovation and technology, because of a lot of things that are happening in my life, getting married, having children, running a business, then starting a party. The responsibilities just that they keep increasing. But that's who I am in terms of educational background. I think 2017, I was selected to go to the women, what do they call this program? In America, it's a Hillary Clinton program, Fortune 500 Global Women Mentorship Program. That's what it is. That's what changed my life to be in politics today. And that has been quite a journey for me. I am not new at GIBS. I've done a lecture before, post that, in 2019 when I was a chairperson of the South African Post Office, and I was tasked to turn it around, digitize it, and many interesting things that we're supposed to do that never really happened out of the current government. That's when I got frustrated, left, joined COPE, and went into this path that I'm in today. I guess SARA was a culmination of all my experiences as well, going into politics, but it had a fundamental beginning, which I'll talk about. But this is important. When I was a chairperson of the post office, I had to report to a portfolio committee in Parliament, to a chairperson and the members of the portfolio committee who neither understood, were competent enough, and the level of education of the people that we've left in government really broke my heart. And that's where the disjuncture comes in. Because most of us who have had the privilege to be educated, to run our own businesses, to be exposed, we don't want to go back and serve in government. We leave it for anyone that really, some of them had nothing else really that they could do. And they end up in those critical positions where anywhere in the world are occupied by highly educated, highly technical people that are finally selected for public service. And same as how you select your best in the corporates and with interviews and all sorts of competency assessments, but it's not the same with us. And I saw that again when I was the chairperson of the Metropolitan Trading Company in the city of Johannesburg. And the same, it was even worse. The councillors that are running your city, the 70 billion rand city, that is supposed to give you income earning opportunities, basic services, your water, your energy, control how you get educated, how you travel on the roads, what your children are going to be taught in schools when they get there. Some of these people don't even have matric. And these are councillors that are supposed to run these major cities, metropolitan cities, because we have shunned public service. And for me, that began to pull me towards public service. And that's how I understood that in South Africa, unlike maybe many other countries, for you to be able to have that impact in terms of policy direction, how you participate, in public service in terms of politics, you have to be part of a political party, unless you're an independent candidate. That's our constitution. So for me to be able to be part of that, I had to be part of a political party so that I'm able to go back and contribute. That's how I joined COPE. But SARA, we sat with a lot of small parties back in July last year, because I was at the forefront of leading minority parties in the city of Johannesburg. If you follow the politics, how we left the government of multi-party government to the government of local unity. And we realized 4 fundamental things that have gone wrong in this country. And if any democratic government has failed in these 4 fundamental things, that government is not legit. It is not worthy to be a government that leads the people. Number 1, any democratic government must be able to provide income earning opportunities to its citizen. The current government has failed on that. You look at the unemployment job stats, they are very appalling.
Isn't that also part of the economy to do that? Government needs to facilitate the environment to make it easy to run businesses and start
Unemployment
businesses.
is not an accident. It's a product of the policies that the government is implementing. And that government, in facilitating that, must have the correct policies, must be able to drive the economic growth, and this government has failed. 2, a government that cannot provide homes for its citizens. That government is not a legit government. It's not a democratic government, and this government has failed. You look at the backlog of housing right now, over 3 million people are unhoused. Informal settlements are mushrooming everywhere, uncontrollable, and they become the source and a base for a lot of social ills that we're experiencing. The 3rd test, a government that is not able to protect its citizens domestically. You see it in the level of crimes, in GBV, and many things that we're facing. You realize that this government has failed in its policing, in ensuring the safety and protection of its citizens. 4th, a government that is not able to protect its citizens externally through its borders, through external threats. And our government has not been able to do that. You see it in the porous borders that we have. We cannot even control the influx of illegal immigrants or even those that are legal. We can't even document them properly. Our borders are unmanned, some of them. So those fundamental tests have failed. And if you look at any party that is contesting these elections, they're either standing on one or on all 4 of them. SARA, we went beyond to say, what we see as well is the moral decay. There is no moral clarity on what are the values that bind South Africans together. What do we stand and rally together as South Africans? Deeply divided nation. Unhealed wounds that keep festering and coming forth. We divided along racial lines. We divided along tribal lines. Young people are fighting old people now for jobs. So the divisions, they just keep spreading. So those are the things that as we came together with different minority parties, we said we need to then form some form of an alliance, because it's not one party that's going to bring a solution. It will take all of us, coming from a diverse background, coming from our religious backgrounds, black, white, whatever that you bring to the table. All of us have to start to unite to say, what is it that we want to bring to the table? That was the foundation of SARA, and the policies that we then chose to push forward, we'll talk about.
Okay. So you spoke about how we have weakened the public service by not going into the public service as professionals. So how does one attract? What are your plans to attract professionals into the public service so that we can have a meritocracy as well as a public service that is not linked to politics but linked to the service provision for people?
The three things that we have prioritized as South African Rainbow, and we stand on that as our core principles. It is the merit-based public service. And you look at the list that we've been able to advance to the IEC as people that have joined forces with us come and said, we want to be part of this. We've managed to advertise to unemployed graduates. We had over 250, I think, unemployed graduates that responded to our call to come into public service, because we have to make it attractive to them. We have to start to break down public service in terms of what does it entail. It's not about toy-toying on the streets, which many of us, you and me, may not resonate with. That is just part of a political party. Public service, it's really an honorable profession in any country. As I have said, if we don't have people that have the right qualifications in agriculture, for instance, the technical know-how, how are we going to manage to revive the agricultural sector in South Africa? We need you to come and give us the policies, the latest technology. How do we turn around? We have been struggling as South Africa just to roll out digital migration. That tells you, without you even having to look at who's in government, we don't have the right people with the technical skills in terms of technology, the advancement of 4IR, etc. We had a deputy president who could not even answer what 4IR is, let alone put policies and infrastructures and structures in place that will facilitate that. So that is how do we make it attractive? How do we break it down to our young people to understand what is it that entails, and I'm talking public service as in the political space right now, being in the National Assembly, being in council, what are the portfolios that people are running there? And they're running serious portfolios. Chairpersons of infrastructure. These are people that should be understanding energy. How do we drive energy policies? Water crisis that we have. People don't even understand the crisis that we're in terms of water. And we are slowly moving to day zero because we don't have the competency that is going to allow us to put together the infrastructure to harvest water, to protect water, because South Africa is not a water-rich country. We have to have means. The polyhalid dams that were being built, corruption has come in and all of that. But we need technical guys that are going to come in and say, this is how we are going to deal with the water crisis, because it fits into the policies of the economy as well. No one is going to invest when you don't have water, when you don't have power, when you don't have roads, because those are enablers. So Parliament, Council, provincial legislature, they drive the economic enablers of job creation, of really looking after our people effectively, etc., etc.
Yeah. So let's go to your gear policy, and I like that you've linked it to something that we're already familiar with. You call it growth, employment, accountability, and redistribution, unlike the normal gear that we might be familiar with. So what are you going to be doing for business to drive this economic growth? Because government doesn't drive growth. What are we going to see from your side?
The SARA gear, and we say this with full pride, that what worked we take and improve upon. We are not here as SARA, as some geniuses that are thumb-sucking things that with, out of this world. Economic policies are economic policies wherever you go. They either work when you implement them, or when you choose a different path, they will not work. The reason we're where we are, and I kept saying it, the government drives economic policies that facilitates these levers or these fundamental enablers that drive growth. And we've seen the current government moving more to the social policies that are for socialism and all of that has collapsed Africa and many, many other countries. They have left the business-friendly policies that I'll talk about. SARA gear, we borrowed it from President Mbeki, and we have improved on it because conditions have changed in which the previous gear was implemented 1996 to 2008. If you look at where the country has gone since 2008 to 9, we've got high debt, unsustainable deficit in our fiscus. We have borrowed. If we don't stop this trajectory by 2025, statistics tells us that 5.8 trillion will be our borrowing. Just the last quarter, we had to borrow another 300 million. You know what it is for? To service debt. So we're in a debt spiral. We're no longer in a debt trap. So it is getting worse and worse. How do we get out of the debt trap? So the gear is supposed to enable us to get out of this debt trap, because as part of the debt trap, we have now lost control even in some of the policies that we want to implement. For example, energy. We are now dictated by the IMF what we should do with our energy. The just-in-time, the PPP. So some of the things that we could be harvesting our coal and making our power station work and providing energy for our people to enable the economy. So the SARA gear, G stands for growth. Under growth, number one, we're dealing with the debt. We need to reservice the debt. How are we going to deal with the debt? First, denationalization of state-owned entities. We have to put a full stop to the nationalization agenda because it has not worked and it is not working. ESCOM is a national entity. It is not working. It requires private sector, public partnerships, public-private partnerships that we need to put in place to make it work. Transnet has failed. It's a national entity. We require private partners to come in and put money. We modernize it, we turn it around. Our ports have collapsed. We require private partners to come in. The government does not have money to turn it around. We used to rank amongst the top 10 in the world in our ports in terms of efficiency, modern ports, etc. Everything that was going across Africa would land here. Right now, we've been overtaken by the Kenyas and many other countries because we've decayed. We're number 351st in terms of, I think it's a Ngura port. And many of our Cape Town ports as well have degraded to even ranked below 230 or so. So it shows you that the country needs help. Denel, I can name all the state-owned entities. I was the chairperson of the South African Post Office. We had private partners that wanted to come and work with government, modernize, put in their own money, retain the people that were there. But because of the vision that the current government has, we're at loggerheads with them. So one of our key enablers of the economy is denationalization. And we know that there are many private companies, whether local or overseas, that want to come and partner with us and make sure that we don't lose jobs, we modernize, we put technology, we make this infrastructure work. Right now, post office, we are left with white elephants. That whole beautiful infrastructure, there's no network like the post office in this whole country. You can reach any community, rural areas. And there were online companies, black young entrepreneurs that wanted to use this infrastructure, run their online companies and do wonderful things. Some of them wanted to turn them into some internet cafes, do innovations there, etc., and share profit with government. So ideas are there, but is there a will to do it? Two, what do we want to do? We want under growth, implement a 24-hour economy. Mm-hmm. South Africa knows nightlife. We don't know night economy. Everywhere in the world, we compete with New York, we compete with Hong Kong, Tokyo, and all the first world countries. Singapore, they run a night economy. Immediately, you have created 3 shifts. that halves the unemployment. When we live here, 5 o'clock, you and I and millions of South Africans, we're going to go home, put our feet on the table, switch on generations, and watch TV until 12 midnight. Other countries are taking advantage of different economies that are happening and time zones, and they're making things work. Hence, you see innovations coming up, business deals are being done. What are we going to do? We've got all of this beautiful infrastructure. Everyone who comes to Africa, who goes to other places, they land here at our airport. You know what they do? They sleep throughout the night with us. They could be out shopping. They could be out in offices, businesses, working with you and I, creating businesses, making sure that we are part of what is happening in the economy. But no, we don't have a night economy. Third, what are we going to do? For business especially, cut the taxes.
I'm a little bit worried about that one because we're already starting from a very small tax base and there's so many demands on our taxpayers. So what's your suggestion? The reason we've got such a small tax base, it's in line, it's not accident, it's in line with the unemployment rate. When they tell you that 76% of the people are unemployed, that should tell you that only 34% are employed. Those are your taxpayers in terms of people will come to corporates, in terms of people. And out of those 34%, I think the statistics are saying 12% of those, they earn enough to pay tax in this country. So we are carried by 12%, you and I, who earn enough to be tax assessed to pay income tax. So our tax is so low because of unemployment. These policies that we are implementing are bringing people back at work. So that we don't have a high burden that you must now pay 45% of tax because you must carry service delivery for the rest of the 80% of the people in South Africa. And it's a high burden, high cost of living. You can't afford it. Hence, we even had to increase VAT. But once we're able to get more people at work, we can drop the income tax to 36%. That is in line with where people are in the world. Once we drop the corporate tax to 24%, we are now enabling businesses to start to focus on job creation. It will not be for free. There will be a condition. We're dropping the taxes because we want you to invest in employing people, put in measures in place to modernize your factories, because many corporates are crying on that. They have not even fully recovered from COVID, and taxes are still going up. SMMEs, for instance, most of them are taxed so high, the burden of labor laws on them, it's too high. I know because I was in business. Just to attempt to comply with your tax requirements, with your labor laws, etc., you have to pay somebody 200,000, whether it's per annum if you're a small company, or some of us, because we were really growing into being a medium to large entity, 200,000 per annum you must pay to accountants, to this and that, just to make sure that you tick the compliance boxes. All of those are not necessary. We are saying that we're going to remove all of that burden. For any SMME that earns 10 million and below, we remove that burden completely until you cross the 10 million threshold, so that you are able to create jobs, you're able to reinvest. You know why SMMEs are the biggest employers of undocumented foreign nationals? It's because of this. They're running away from tax, they're running away from compliance. But if we work with them and then ensure that when we give you these tax breaks, these exemptions from some of the laws that you can't comply with at this stage, we expect you to employ the indigenous people here. We expect you to expand and create jobs and be able to assist us in job creation. And in that way, what are we doing? We're expanding our tax base, expanding our tax base. Okay. And the fourth is, of course, technology is going to enable our economy. The one thing I'm sure you're tired of answering is South Africa ready for a woman? A woman leader? I mean, it's really horrible, 2024, we're still asking this question.
It is horrible. And Michelle, I always say the South Africans are ready for a woman president. Wherever we go, every community, the people are saying we are tired of either the current government, we are tired of men, they have not done anything for us. What we are seeing, where the problem is, we've got funders that are not ready for a woman president. We've got the media that is not ready for a woman president. because those are the two fundamental enablers of politics and political parties. Without media coverage that is fair, that is not skewed to certain political parties, you will not know about SARA. You know, I'm sure you were going to call me, but we had to call you when we saw these adverts of all the male parties. My team had to come and ask to say, are you going to invite us? We are also here. It's not only GIBS that we are talking to. Any media. We had our manifesto launch that none of you know about because we're not covered. I was talking to Auntie P, Patricia DeLille. She was not covered also for a manifesto launch. We were in a stadium, packed stadium in Limpopo, not covered. You find a man leading a party, having a manifesto in a hall like this, 1,000, 2,000 people. We're not going to rest the whole day. From ENCA to newsroom to SABC, it will be all over the place. They get interviews after that to unpack their manifesto. We don't get that opportunity. And we keep pushing that boundary to say, why? Fund us. You get men that had never even been on a campaign trail. They step out of a corporate, never been tested as a politician. They walk into their party with a bag of 15 million rand. Some did not even qualify to be on the ballot box because they didn't understand what it is that it requires. I've been in the political space. I've run a political office. You may not like me, you may like me, but I've been there as a Speaker of the City of Joburg. And I was not called the Speaker of the People for nothing because I proved myself with the community. And we were running the City of Joburg. I'm struggling to raise 1 million rand. Tell me why. The same funders that are funding those that you have seen sitting here. Some of them head to head, I can take them on. I'm not afraid of them. Our policies, we can debate with them, what we stand for. We know what we are doing. Why are they being funded and we're not funded? And we have to submit 10,000 documentations. So it's a very, very big problem because without funding, without media, I can't reach Kaliche, I can't reach Mangaung, maybe I can reach Gauteng, I can reach Limpopo where I come from. So those are some of the fundamental things that we have to understand. South Africans are ready for a women president. But until we put the woman president in front of the people to say, tell us, and don't tell us you are a woman. No, we can already see you're a woman. Tell us what you bring to the table. What are your policies? What are you going to do for us? And we are willing to do that. We are ready to do that, but we need the opportunities. We need the funders.
I'm just wondering whether women would support you if they were called to fund you.
It's sad.
Have you had a call like that?
We have spoken to women, and funny, they've funded men. They have funded men. Some of them are the Oppenheimers. They funded men. We are knocking on their doors. You see, not only women, even black businesses are not funding the change that they are crying for. Mm-hmm. We can't only have white businesses funding. And this is something that I've been very vocal about. To say the most beneficiaries of the change and the democratic realignment that we are looking for, the levers of power that must change hands, it's you and I. Mm. It's mainly Africans who are in the majority. I'm talking Indian, I'm talking black, I'm talking coloreds. These three groupings are not funding political parties. That's why we're all running to the same people that are being criticized for funding. But we have to also give them credit because they are funding what they're looking for.
I think we need a new breath of fresh air in South Africa so that we can start identifying with the parties that we see. I think there's been a movement away from politics within many of our communities because it is, trying to get change from something that hasn't resulted in change before.
One of the things that, and it has been thrown in my face as well, it's how the politicians that we had put in power before had represented us in the communities. And they have not done justice to even us as upcoming emerging leaders. because they are seen as, you're only coming here to get my vote, and tomorrow all I'm going to see, yeah, it's a transaction. Yeah. I'm going to see you with a big car and driving this. You're not going to be coming back to service me. Those are some of the things that we see every day. Yeah. We voted this and this. This councillor has never even come back to talk to us, to tell us what it is that they're going to be doing for us. They're in power. They're not looking after the communities. We've seen it as well. This Tuma Mina brigade, I always say this. In my language, we have the saying, and I'll try and translate it. Mangwa epfumaleti monzo ekurumisa. I don't know if there's any Shangan. But Batswana kitsepe itlokile dinaka ka go rumisa. You know that? Are there any people that resonate to that? It says a zebra does not have horns, because it sent people to go, or other zebras to go for it. That's what we did. They said, Tuma Mina, we sent them to parliament. They have not come back. We have no horns, we have no water, we have no jobs, we have no communities that are safe, we have nothing because of this Tuma Mina. And this is why we are saying as young leaders, and when you see other parties popping up, independent candidates, they want to go for themselves now. There's no longer Tuma Mina. People are going there for themselves to make sure that they can do for themselves and their communities. And it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. The big parties will not like it. They criticize many political parties. If they had done what they were supposed to do, you would not be seeing the mushrooming of political parties and independent candidates. We don't believe the land issue is a priority, and we reflect that in our policies. We'll tell you why. For over 30 years now, the ANC has not been able to solve the land issue, because fundamentally, to deal with the land issue, you must deal with the constitution of the land. Until you get a 2/3 majority to review and change the constitution, if you're going to be promising people land without expropriation, without compensation, you are lying to them. It may tickle the people's ears, it may win you votes, but you will never achieve it. We believe in property rights. We believe that people must get jobs first, because that's what people are crying for. I'll give you a land. Even if you give me land today, there's nothing I'm going to do with that land. I don't have income to make that land productive. I don't have income to even build on that land. What people are crying for, first and foremost, then the land will follow. Give me an income earning opportunity. I want food on the table. I want money in my pocket. I want to be able to send my children to school, to afford health care. The government has enough land to ensure that the housing backlog that we have must be serviced. The government must now, and when we come in as SARA government, we're going to release those land parcels so that people get the homes that they want. The land issue of expropriation, taking farms, taking this, it's just a recipe for failure and disaster with the current situation of joblessness, the economic climate that we have, and the way they want to do it. Land is very important, but there has to be a clear process of how we are going to expropriate it with compensation, protecting property rights of the people. Because without that, you will never have investors coming in. Yeah. You're going to turn into another Zimbabwe. Because there's no one who's coming to invest here, who's going to put their money to create jobs, to make sure that we've got factories, we have things, because the government can't do it. We're indebted. We just don't have the facilities and the means and the money to do it. We are relying on private parties that must come and do it with us. They won't do it without the protection of property rights, and that's very important.
Yeah. What's your policy on corruption?
Look, you have it right. I wouldn't say that is our core running ticket of anti-corruption, because once you have the fundamentals, we're running on the accountability ticket. Because once you get the right people in place that are merit-based, that have the godly moral fiber that we are looking for, then you are starting to kill corruption at its core. One of the fundamental issues that we have is that we've put people in power, in strategic positions that have nothing to lose. For them, even the threat of an orange uniform is nothing to them. You and I have invested so much in ourselves, whether it's educationally, qualifications, our spiritual well-being, and we are accountable. First and foremost, I must be accountable to my God, to where I worship. There must be somebody who holds you accountable. Second, I'm accountable to my profession. I'm a member of a director of institute. I will not risk that. I belong to the Engineering Institute out of my profession as well. I will not risk that. I don't see politics as a be-all and end-all for me. I see it as an opportunity to come and add value and bring and contribute to where the nation is going. It's not because I was unemployed, I was sitting under a tree, they were toy-toying, I could gather some food parcels, bribe one or two people to vote for me, and here I am. No. I have a brighter future beyond this that I must safeguard and protect at all costs. Then I'm accountable to you who vote for me. I must make sure that I service you. But when you have people who have absolutely zero to lose, this is what you're going to get. Because corruption will become a second nature. They will not hesitate to steal, to destroy, not even to service the people that have voted in for them. That is the root of what we are talking about. Not only in the political sphere, but also in the public sector. What kind of people? The people issue for us is so fundamental. So fundamental. But of course, in terms of corruption, look, you cannot deny that it's rampant. We've got our public spend, it's about 800 billion, what we spend in public service and in many things that they do across education, health. And the research that we have from the Institute of Race Relations is that 30 to 40% of that, which is about 400 billion rand, it is wasted on corruption yearly. That is very, very significant, so you can't ignore it. We're not even talking state-owned entities corruption. We are talking the public departments. 400 billion, that goes to unaccounted for money, irregular expenditures, that goes for inflated prices, etc. So how do we cap that? There has to be a concerted effort, and you can't do it through a state capture forum. That's a public gallery. We have to have the means that we are putting in place as part of our policy of whistleblowing that needs to be rewarded. You, as you watch your employee being accountable, holding each other accountable, your fellow colleagues, we have to be watchers of one another. We have to reward honesty. We have to reward whistleblowing. We have to reward those that facilitate anti-corruption activities at the lowest level. Let's not deal with it there. It starts at the official level, because a politician will not be corrupt without the assistance of an official. That's just how it is. As a politician, I don't even handle budget, I don't handle money. How do I end up with money? How do I end up with inflated prices and corruption? I have to have enablers. And we must work on those enablers so that they become the whistleblowers for these ones that are on here, without being intimidated, without fear of being removed, because they are not going to be cadre deployees. They are going to be public servants with merit who will understand that this is their career, their future, and if they mess with it, they are going to jail.
Yeah. So my next to last question, BEE.
BEE is very important. It addresses transformation in our country, and that's at the heart of what we want to do. But the way BEE has been rolled out in this country has not facilitated transformation. That's where we have a problem with BEE. Some of us are products of BEE in terms of women equity, opportunities that were opened for young people as well. And so we can't totally discard it, but we have to review it so that it does not only benefit you and I, who may know one or two people that we're connected to know. It must be able to translate to benefiting the community and the society at large. We have seen BEE creating intra-black inequality now, where black on black anger becomes more, because now the inequality has just quadrupled and it is growing. Because BEE favors those that are able to get access to politicians. That cannot be. We want to review the BEE laws and the legislature so that they enable communities to benefit. Number two, they have been acting as a deterrent to some of the investors that are coming. Some of the key deterrents, which I'll name, has been BEE, because the charters that we have, especially in minings and all, ever changing. There's no peg to say, if I have complied with this, therefore I'm able to get my mining rights, etc. It's very frustrating. We need to deal with that. Labor laws, which also fall part of they contribute to the BEE as well, needs to be reviewed. How do they enable investors instead of deterring them? So for us, it's very important that we don't lose transformation. There's still a lot to be done. But BEE cannot be used to create interblack for the very few. But also, in our implementation of this transformation, we've lost critical skills, especially in state-owned entities, because we've purged all the Afrikaners, we've purged the white people that were ensuring that we get skills transfer and are able to run some of these state-owned entities that we've inherited and departments. How do we address that? We have to bring them back. There are core skills that we need to get energy running, to get water sorted out, to get our ports sorted out. And we have to get those skills back. So we need to review how we implement this BEE and transformation. Very, very fundamental.
Okay. So before I go to the floor for questions, my last question is, the results have come in. You've won the election. Day one in the seat of power. What happens?
Day one, we implement the 24-hour economy. We have to create jobs for our people. We must get the nation back at work. Day one, we must work to unify the nation. We've been divided long enough. It's about time that we rally together as a nation, create that patriotic spirit. And it's one of the key reasons that has affected our borders as well. We no longer have patriotic men and women who understand what it is to safeguard a nation. And once we create that patriotic spirit, we foster it. We won't have to worry about borders. We won't have to worry about crime, because the police are going to safeguard our children, our properties with understanding and with common values. And we're going to start on the denationalization of all state entities, because our number one agenda is to help corporates, to help SMMEs, to put people back at work, put food on the table of our people, money in their pocket. Let's get the economy working. Let's get our people productive. Let's get our economy competitive again. We must have a job-creating economy. That has to be fundamental for us. And that will be, within the 3 months in office, we would have achieved, if not 50% of what I'm talking about, because it's not difficult to do.